What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another week 4 preview and prediction. And as promised, got 3 more videos out for you today. Let's take you once again to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where the first big test in the Big Ten for USC is none other than just one of the hardest venues in the country to play in. It's the Big House in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the home of the Michigan Wolverines, the reigning national champs. Man, this is going to be a good one, and we'll tell you everything you need to know about the Trojans and Wolverines here in just a little bit. But before we dive into that, of course, I have to say thank you for all the love and support this channel has seen, and please continue to help support it in any way you can, whether that's again, if you're as big of a college football nerd as I am, and you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, post a lot of college football content, again, continue to watch my videos, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch this video. You can also like, you can comment, you can share, and anything else you do to interact with the channel helps to support it. Does mean a lot to me, and if you want to support me in any other ways, go give me a follow on Twitter at TailgateNate29. Follow along with my journey to be a sports media professional, listen to games I call, look at articles I write, this, that, and the other. I'd really appreciate some support over there as well. Anything you guys are willing and able to do to help support me would mean a lot. But with all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, let's now start diving on into this one that we are going to see take place in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Well, how do we do preview predictions around here? Well, we're going to go through some keys to the game when each team possesses the football. So first, we're going to go through keys to the game when USC is on offense. We'll take a look at some keys as they go up against this Wolverine defense, and then we'll flip it. Look at the Michigan offense versus the USC defense. At the end of the video, I'll give you what I sort of think is going to happen here, some final thoughts, and of course, my final prediction, as well as a score prediction here for this game. Let me just fix my light 1 second. Sorry, bumped the camera. All right, cool. There we go. Let us now go ahead, dive on in talking about this one from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we are going to start out again, as I said earlier, with the keys when USC is on offense. Now, you take a look at the numbers that they have put up so far, and guys, this Lincoln Riley offense has not gone anywhere. No Caleb Williams, no problem. Miller Moss has been the new quarterback for them this season, and he has been really, really good. Now, only 2 touchdowns and no picks. This is the team that does have 7 rushing touchdowns on the year. Woody Marks, the Mississippi State transfer, has been a huge part in that. He has 171 yards and 3 of those touchdowns. You also have a freshman in Quentin Joyner who has 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's been running it really, really well, but Miller Moss, as I mentioned earlier, still playing well. I mean, 607 yards, even when Jaden Maeva has come into play. He's seen some really good minutes as well. He's only thrown 11 passes, no touchdowns, only 66 yards, completed 8 of them. But I mean, Miller Moss is playing really, really well here for this team. You look at Woody Marks and Joyner in the backfield, and this team is just playing some really good football right now. And the thing about USC, again, the storyline is the defense, which we'll talk about it here, but it's important to note that again, this offense is still cooking. And again, these stats are only through 2 games. USC had a bye week this past week, so the stats you're seeing on screen, again, only through 2 games. A little bit of a smaller sample size than when we talk about this Michigan defense. But overall, I mean, you can't deny that USC's offense has still been right where it needs to be. Maybe you want the offensive line to step up a little bit more, but overall, I mean, this is a USC offense that has just looked really good for most of this season. McCree, Hudson, Ford, Branch, Lane, Robinson, even Marks out of the backfield, and so many other weapons. This USC offense is absolutely loaded. Guys, that is my first key there. Again, pretty much everything I just said. This USC offense has not gone anywhere. It's still as good of an offense as we saw under Caleb Williams. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch to say, but throughout this point in the season, it's been a very, very good offense. It has to win the battle in the trenches, which is going to be something that's going to be really hard to do against this Michigan defensive front that's only allowing 70 rush yards per game. That's only not only, but that has generated 4 sacks on the season. That has forced 3 turnovers so far. That is definitely going to be something that you'll have to watch out for. And the Michigan run defense, as I just said, has been good all season, and I think it's going to be good here. Are there moments where I think Marks and Joyner are going to be able to get some big runs going? Yeah, I think Woody Marks is going to have his moments, and even when they play Joyner, I think he's going to have his moments as well. I don't know if there's going to be any sort of big chunk yardage plays. I expect Michigan to be able to limit those here in this game. They're going to try to make Miller Moss win this game with his arm and, of course, utilize the wide receiver weapons that USC has there. But Michigan, their secondary really needs to step it up. The run defense has been as good as it has. the run defense this season seems to me throughout the early part this season, even in that game against Texas where Michigan just kind of got handled, the defense still held up well. The defensive front still held up well. They were still creating pressure. They were still wreaking havoc, right? This is a Michigan secondary group that has to step up. 234 yards per game allowed. You go back to that Fresno State game, they allowed a ton of yards passing there to Mikey Keene. You go back to that Texas game, Quinn Ewers, I mean, for the most part, pretty much able to do whatever he wanted. 246 yards, 3 touchdowns for him. And then even when you go to the Arkansas State game, I mean, Jalen Raynor is a good young quarterback there that had 140 yards passing. And then when they put their backup, Timmy McClain, he did throw for 2 touchdowns overall, 222 yards passing for the Arkansas State Red Wolves. This is a secondary that you just feel like has to step it up, especially considering how it's played so far this season and the team that it has to go against here in USC. We know Miller Moss has a ton of weapons surrounding him against Zachariah Branch, the guy you saw on the thumbnail screen. Very well might be the best one, but I mean, again, you can just go through the list of names that I mentioned there earlier. So many guys are going to be able to step up for USC here in this game. But for Michigan, especially on the defensive end here, the crowd has to be a factor. And going into my prediction just a little bit, I think the crowd will be a factor here in this game. Again, USC has not seen an environment like this. I don't really remember the last time USC, if it's even happened, has gone on the road to play in a game in the Big House, in a game in the Horseshoe, in a game at Penn State, right? Like Big Ten environments, and this is no like discretion to whatever the former teams in the Pac-12 had, right? Like Eugene Stadium is a very, very good atmosphere. The stadium there for Washington is really good. We all know how loud the Rose Bowl can get as well. And even the Coliseum, USC's home field, gets extremely loud. But going on the road, there's just something different about playing in front of 110,000 people, the largest crowd you will see in college football across any level. And Michigan's crowd is second to none. They are ridiculous. They get really, really loud. USC's got to be ready for that. I mean, first test in the Big Ten, you got to go on the road to play in one of the toughest environments in college football. That definitely, again, is going to play a factor here within this game. But now let's flip on over to where Michigan has the football. And I mean, these are the two sides of the ball for both teams, Michigan's offense and USC's defense, that coming into the season you had the most questions about. And while USC's defensive issues seem to have been figured out and this defense looks a ton better under DeAnton Lynn, Michigan's offense, not so much. They elected to go with Davis Warren starting here throughout the first 3 games. And I mean, he has had some pretty okay moments, but overall it's just not been great, guys. 444 yards, that's it. 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. That's 6 of the 7 turnovers right there, and he threw 3 of them this past week against Arkansas State. You just simply can't have that. Michigan is making the switch over to Alex Orji here at quarterback, and the one simple question that I have for him is he going to be able to provide a better quarterback play? We saw Michigan mix him in at the end of last season in a couple of different packages there in the national championship game and the college football playoff semifinal. We know Alex Orji has athleticism. We know he can run. And again, only throughout his 6 passes he's thrown last year, even if you go back to last season where he got, he didn't even get reps throwing the football last season. I remember him getting a couple of those reps. So there really is a whole lot of unknown with Alex Orji throwing the football. Again, we know he's athletic. We know he can get outside of the pocket and run because that's the packages Michigan liked to use him in last season, sort of that little jet sweep action, the sort of option quarterback style, right? Where you could either decide to pitch that to the running back or pull it and take it yourself. But Alex Orji as a passer is really going to have to step up here. Colston Loveland, 187 yards and 1 touchdown, 19 catches. Other than that, your leading wide receiver is Samaj Morgan, and through 3 games, he only has 56 yards on 9 catches. Granted, 1 touchdown, sure, but that production has got to get better, right? You have got to see better things out of the quarterback room, out of the wide receiver room. It just has to get better, and hopefully Michigan's own Alex Orji is going to be able to provide that for this Wolverine team. Now, when you flip it and look over at this USC defense, guys, you take a look at that second key. This defense is much, much improved, especially on that defensive front. There were at times last year where USC just couldn't really stop that ground game. They're able to do that this year, and that is the strength of the Michigan offense, right? Yes, it is imperative that Alex Orji provides better quarterback play for Michigan and really is going to be able to show that, hey, I can throw this ball downfield, we can get guys open, and we can move the ball through the air. We all know that Michigan can run the ball on the ground. Kalel Mullings has been fantastic so far this season, averaging around 7.5 yards per carry. Donovan Edwards, you know he's too good of a player. He's going to pick up the steam here eventually. He's got 150 yards and 1 touchdown. Mullings, 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. By the way, they have the same amount of carries this season, so very, very comparable stats there. We know those two guys can run the football, and that is the focal point of this Michigan offense. I think even with Alex Orji in at quarterback, this is going to be a run-first team, right? And it has been this season. They've run the ball 101 times. They've only dropped back and thrown 78 passes. Michigan is a run-first offense. This Trojan defensive front is going to be tested. It can stifle the ground game. The big key, though, is will it? That is the big thing to watch for in this game. But the offensive line has got to hold up for the Michigan Wolverines here in this one, specifically because, again, USC's defensive front is much improved. Sure, there are still some things to work out with this USC defense, but, I mean, overall, you take a look at where it was last season, 2 years ago, and you compare it to right now, it is miles, miles, miles better than it has been for Lincoln Riley over the past couple of seasons, and that's going to come into big play here, right? If this Michigan offense doesn't get good quarterback play, continues to show that they can't really move the football that well, and the offensive line for Michigan is going to get beaten and battered. I mean, that is a full pride and true moment to where, or I guess a full pride and true key to where you can look at and say, I mean, USC is going to win this game, and I think that's exactly what happened. So leaning into my prediction here again, USC does have a bye week, have not played a conference game yet. Their first conference game here, Michigan, of course, the lone loss on the season to the Texas Longhorns. USC is the favorite here in this matchup, and give me 1 second. Realized I had USC's ranking wrong on there, so apologies for that. That is now on the screen and fixed. But again, guys, I think USC is going to win this game. I got this one by a score of 26-23. For me, too many questions for Michigan's offense. And even though, look, I think Alex Orji is going to make this Michigan team a lot more competitive with him at quarterback than with Davis Warren at quarterback. And I think Michigan's going to be able to score some points. Again, still some things with this USC defense I think are going to need to get ironed out and figured out. And I do think that Donovan Edwards and Kalel Mullings are going to be able to have their way throughout points in this game on the ground. But I think USC's defense has stepped up enough, especially with the limited potential that Michigan has shown offensively this season, to be able to limit Michigan on offense. And this Michigan defense, for as good as it is, especially up front, and for as physical as it is, it's going to be able to get after Miller Moss. And I think it's going to come up with a couple sacks here in this game. The secondary has not performed up to standard. I think they're going to need to force Miller Moss to throw a couple of picks here in this game, especially, again, with the amount of concerns they have offensively. And even if Alex Orji doesn't play well, you're going to need to force those turnovers. There's just way too many questions for me with Michigan right now and USC. The offense looks good. The defense is much improved. They're a real college football playoff contender, and I think they're going to prove that with a road win against the Michigan Wolverines. But I want to know what you guys think in this game in the comment section down below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see all of you guys in my next video. Goodbye.